What's up, guys? I explained in the last video how I kind of lost track of where I was, broke my laptop, so I gotta figure all that out. I still don't know what's going on, what I recorded. It's kind of a mess right now, but I'm just gonna start a new video today and we'll just keep going with it. Videos are kind of gonna be a jumbled up mess, but at least I can get some of it out. So you saw me painting the valve covers, I'm pretty sure. I put them on this morning. I got new hardware here for them. New hardware, new gasket. Those are all done now. I think I said I had to get new hardware for the headers because they wouldn't fit. So I went and got some new hardware. Spent like $30 on some stainless hardware. And the heads are too big on the bolts. They don't fit next to the header. I can't get a socket or anything. I can't even turn them in there. So for my plans today then on this, I want to get those headers on. I'm going to change the spark plugs on it today. You can't get the spark plugs with the headers on. You just can't get a tool or anything in there. So I'm going to do that before the headers go on, and it should be good, obviously, for a while when the spark plug is done, before I have to do that all over again. I also would like to get this intake painted today, cleaned up and painted. I kind of took a wire wheel to it, cleans up pretty good. So I gotta do the whole thing, get it all cleaned up, degreased, wipe it down, paint it, doing it the same color as these valve covers with the pearl, black pearl. I want to get those painted. So I think I said in one of the other videos that the only reason these headers don't work with this motor is the hardware didn't fit. Well, it does. I don't know what was up with me that day, but I couldn't get any of these to thread in. I tried a little bit harder today because I got new hardware. I spent like $30 on some new hardware for the headers, and the heads on the bolts are too big to clear the headers. You can't turn them at all. So what I've been doing, I did this side already. I got a tap here. There's a 3/8 tap and then a 1/4 inch socket that the tap fits in, and I've just been cleaning these out. Now the threads in there really good. There's just a lot of rust and dirt in there, so now these bolts that came with the headers thread in nicely, so no problems there. Just like I said, I gotta change these spark plugs before I put the headers on, otherwise I won't be able to do it afterwards. Before I do that though, I want to clean up the surface here. The gasket's gone, but you can still see there's a little bit of residue on there, so I'm just going to clean up the surface for the gasket on both sides. I cleaned up all these with the tap. I gotta do it on the other side yet. Then we'll gap some spark plugs, put spark plugs in. To clean the surface, I'm going to use this angle die grinder with a soft pad on it. Here, and just real gently clean that up. Got these cleaned up for the most part. I'm just putting a little dab of anti-seize on this plug and replacing plugs. Okay, I got the headers on, spark plugs are in. I just went outside to start cleaning up this manifold. Took a wire wheel to it, trying to get the oxidization off. And of course, 2 minutes into it, it's now pouring rain. So that's not going to get painted today. It's going to be way too wet and humid out now to try and paint. I might try and clean it up a little bit some more. Not sure what else I really have to do on here. I could do the oil pan, but I really just want to get the intake on, then I could set it in the truck, see how everything fits. I guess for now I can start cleaning up some wire harnesses and whatnot. Start laying some stuff back on it without the intake. Kind of need that for most everything though. So this video is going to get split into a couple days again. Alright, manifolds done being painted, got clear on it. It's still kind of wet. I ran into my first major, if you want to call it major problem. The manifold set back a little bit. Here, let me move it forward to where it should be. Yeah, I put these nice fancy valve covers on. That's not going to work. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I think what I'm going to have to do is cut it there. I've got this tube which came off the old one, which was just held on by some rubber here. I think if I cut this pretty short, this tube's smaller, it'll fit inside there. I have to get a rubber tube and kind of move it over some way to work around that. So I thought about it last night. How am I going to do this? Using the rubber hose, trying to bend it over is not going to work, I don't think. So what I'm going to do is use some of this cardboard left over from the gaskets. I'm going to trace that out, trace the other one that I have with the bend in it, this one, and that way I'm going to trace those out. Then I'm going to trace this out also, take some measurements, how tall this is, the bottom of this, where the hose will sit, and then with my cutouts that I made of these, I can kind of figure out where I want to cut them, so that I don't cut these and then make a mistake and then realize it's still not going to fit, and then I don't have an oil fill tube. So I'm going to trace them with cardboard and play around with them that way before I actually cut any metal. But I think I'm going to try and cut it at an angle, spin it around, that way it's pointing that way, and then maybe cut another angle and then aim it up. So it's kind of do a little L shape or something. We'll see what happens. Alright, I simply took a Sharpie and traced it out. So I've got the shape of that. Here's the other one that I have, and then I tried to kind of trace that backwards on this side so that I could see the problem better. Kind of see where it's hitting it. This way I know how much I actually have to move it. It's not that much, but of course with the rubber intake tube on there, it's wider than this, so it's gonna have to move a little bit more. Okay, I think I got it figured out. I cut out the oil fill tube that I traced on here, and then before I even cut this piece, I just took the same width that this tube is, just cut out a piece of cardboard so I can play with the cuts. So if this is the valve cover here, take a cut up like that. I can then take this piece, it's really hard to do one-handed, and flip it. That will angle it out of the way. Then if I have another cut, I can then flip this one so my oil tube is facing up and pretty much just routes it around the intake. I'm gonna cut it out on here to make sure I have enough room with the PCV here. I don't have to, you know, be cutting through that or into the top. Play around with that, try and mock it up on the motor, and then we'll have to start cutting. Alright, so here's what I got. I took the valve cover off, put some tape on it to protect the paint I just laid down on it. Cut the first angle. This is where it was. Cut it. Now I could flip it to go this way, which will definitely be out of the way, but it's at, you know, nearly a 90, so I can't really fill it with oil at a 90. So I was gonna make another cut just so that it'd go up, but I think this is too short. It would probably work. It'd probably end up somewhere around here, which isn't bad. But what I like better is I cut the same angle on the other tube I had just after the PCV, and I can put it like this, which kind of angles it forward towards the front of the motor, and that's a really good angle to fill oil at. It definitely is curved out of the way of the intake. I'm going to grab the intake boot, see which one works better. I also want to throw the alternator on here because this kind of throws it forward. Just want to make sure there's enough room. There should be, but just want to make sure. Otherwise, looking good. Just going to have to clean up these edges, clean this up, and then weld it back together. I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty proud of this. This couldn't have turned out any better. So I got the alternator on there, the intake boot, the old one before I cut it. Obviously I can't even get it to sit on there the way it was. I mean, it's just so in the way. The new one, flush on there. It is just perfect, perfectly goes around it. Yeah, the alternator is not even close. Just wanted to make sure though. But time to put some welds on it. One problem solved. Kind of a good thing I had this extra one. The curve in it. All done welding. Threw a bit of paint on there in the shadow. Same color as the rest of the valve cover. The pearl gloss black. For that to dry, then I could throw it back on and actually put the intake on for the last time. Alright, intake's on. Valve cover's all done. So the next step is EGR block off plate. I found this, I had laying around scrap. I'm just gonna RTV it on there. I'm gonna use RTV, but I'm also gonna drill holes and screw it in. And then the RTV just to seal it up. So all I did to get the screw holes, you can see them on there. In Sharpie, I just took the EGR and put the plate on there, and then took Sharpie and drew the holes through the other side. So now I'm going to drill these out. I already found 2 screws that fit in the intake, because these are the original screws for the EGR, but they're too long when I'm only using this thin piece of metal. So I got these. They're Phillips, not really what I would want to put in there, but that's what I got laying around in my bin full of extra screws. The thread's the same, so I'm just going to use those. Alright, just went out and got some lunch. Stopped at Walgreens and picked up some nail polish. Got 2 different kinds here. This one's kind of pink. This one doesn't have any sparkle in it, but not a bad match. Not perfect, but just a little, gives the motor a little something, a little bit of color. kind of sets it off a little bit. Drilled my 2 holes in the metal, rounded off this edge a little bit. Lines up perfect. Get started here. Obviously I need to get some RTV on there, but for a piece of scrap I found laying in the garage, not bad. Better than buying a block off plate. I found some online for 50 bucks. Of course they come with a gasket, but it's just an intake. RTV should be just fine. The last and final thing to do is the oil pan gasket. So I've got the oil draining right now. Be a lot easier to do it on the stand than in the truck. It looked like the rear main was leaking when I first pulled the motor, but it's definitely the oil pan gasket. So I've got one of those, gonna put that on quick and then maybe test fit it in the truck.